60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Now, the last couple of months have been very interesting in Nigeria in the banks and especially with the Central Bank of Nigeria. In June 2015, for instance, the central bank banned importation of about 40 types of goods, furniture, textile, rice. They say they want to stop people accessing foreign exchange for products like that. Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. And so there's no end to these policies. First, it was a name and shame, a directive from the CBN in April 2015, giving a 3-month moratorium to those who owe the banks to come up with their debts. Now, in the wake of that publication of the debtors list, those the CBN described as delinquent debtors, they've come out all, one at a time, to deny that they ever owed those sums of money. In addition, Nigeria's new president, Muhammadu Buhari, directed all ministries, departments, and agencies to run a Treasury single account, a TSA it's called, affected by this directive, and it says for transparency and accountability in operations of public accounts are foreign missions, teaching hospitals, medical centers, federal tertiary institutions, the CBN itself, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Corporate Affairs Commission, Nigerian Ports Authority, Nigerian Communications Commission, the NNPC, the DPR, name it. All agencies will have to maintain a TSA. And that's where my host today comes in. A specialist in financial economy. He speaks a little bit about politics. He has even contested the governorship seat of his state, Ebonyi State, twice, first in 2011 and in 2015. He joins me today on 60 Minutes as our regular commentator on business and economy. So, join me after the break as I count down 60 Minutes with Dr. Austin NWEZE, currently lecturing at the Pan-Atlantic University. Welcome back. Welcome, Dr. NWEZE. Thank you very much for finally coming on my program.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here.
Now, I thought we'd start with these delinquent debtors, as the CBN called them. You know, I suppose my first question should be, will publishing in names of debtors, you know, push them to want to settle the debts or make them even recalcitrant and say, well, you know, you've done the worst, get your money if you can?
Yes, I think it will make them more recalcitrant because there is a saying in Japan that harakiri is a sense of shame.
Yes.
And it's not it's not a character here. Most people don't have a sense of shame and all that. So, and they can discountenance and say, okay, well, who is not owing this one?
Yes.
Even the federal government is owing, they're owing contractors and all that.
Yes.
The banks are even owing. So, what's the big deal? It's not a crime to owe.
Yes.
You know, but again, you find that it's against the ethics of the banking.
Because people talk about the secrecy in banking, the relationship between a customer and a bank should not be privy to other people.
Exactly. So it is wrong for the banks to publish, for CBN to compel them to publish a name. You know, it's like some kind of a deja vu.
Yes.
When Sanusi was there, he published the names.
Yes.
What happened?
Nothing.
AMCON was set up to be able to manage his debts, buy over these debts and all that. What happened? AMCON is still there. Why can't AMCON mop up all those things? And again, I keep saying that there is a business opportunity that smart entrepreneurs can take advantage of.
What is that?
Now, they can become debt collectors, professional debt collectors.
collectors.
Now, what happens is that people make millions of dollars doing this in Canada and the US and all that.
Yes.
So, but in Nigeria, we have not explored that opportunity. But what we could do is a smart entrepreneur could just, okay, look, you have all these debts. Let me buy them
Yes.
at a discount. Now, if you owe 10 million, for instance, you can buy it for 5 million. And the wahala of
Chasing the
yeah.
10 million will be on
So,
you.
Yeah, because banks, they're too busy. But again, how these loans are packaged is always at the beginning of any transaction when they are creating this asset.
Yes. Are you saying that people don't pay attention to the finer details?
Yeah, even the banks themselves make it in such a way that it will fail. They don't expect you to pay back.
Ah,
Yes.
I get your point. Why? You mean the interest rates are so high?
Yeah, the management, everything. How are you going to get that kind of money to pay back? And their own personal interest as well.
Yes.
So from the beginning, the thing is packaged to fail.
Doomed to fail.
Yes.
I was interviewing Senator Arise over the phone recently, and he said to me that the company that had, he wasn't a part of it anymore, but according to the MD of the company, it was a loan of 19 million.
Yes.
But the money published as being owed was 81 million.
Because one is that the interest,
Yes.
accumulated interest, and when the environment or circumstances change within the banking sector and the economy,
Yes.
the banks will need to adjust
Those loans.
those loans
Upwards.
without informing the client of this kind of arrangement. It's
Yes.
just, okay, your money is this. I have a friend that, his name was published the last time.
Yes.
The last time.
With Sanusi's
Yes,
list. Okay.
for owing 1.5 or 1.6 billion. And incidentally, he found out that the MD of that bank
Yes.
was even owing 3 or 4 times more than what he's owing the bank in another bank. So, but again, the bank surcharged him over 200 million. So he called the consultant to do some forensic audit.
Yes.
And they discovered that over 200 million the bank
Had padded in.
padded it. So CBA went to AMCON and pursued it. The bank paid him back 100 million. Yes. And then he's still pursuing the other 100 million.
Wow.
So these are some of the things that the banks do. Thinking that people will not notice.
Yes.
And 200 million
if
above what he was supposed to pay.
And the truth is, if you're doing business, if you've taken a loan and the business seems to be flourishing, you won't pay attention to those finer details, those little adjustments.
That's right. It's when the business is not doing well, you begin to say, okay, what is going on? And that's why it's always important to use, like lawyers will say that any information, anything you can divulge or don't want a lawyer to get involved for 10,000. By the time you finally get a lawyer, it costs you over 100,000.
Yes.
I always try to surround myself as a businessman and advise other people with professionals.
Yes.
Lawyers, accountants, especially. These two people are very, very key.
In other words, if you're going into that kind of transaction with a bank, you need a professional to advise you.
To advise you, to be with you at that meeting, at that negotiation. An accountant, a finance person, and a lawyer. Those are two important people that must be present. It might cost you more, but it will prevent future occurrence like 19 million now going to 80-something million.
Yes. Okay, so, what is the way out? Because these names have been published. A lot of them have come out to deny the circumstances of the publication. Some are saying outrightly, I don't even know about this. Abike Dabiri comes to mind. She sent me a text message saying she's gone to court. The bank has subsequently published an apology because she knew nothing about that company. It's not like others who say, I resigned as an MD when I went into the Senate. She never had anything to do with that. So what is the way out now for people like that?
One is that the proper documentation needs to be done. Proper due process needs to be done so that people are not embarrassed. And you publish names of people who are not even, it's negligence on the part of the bank. That means that they're not even serious. Their records are not correct, And then the CBN themselves should stop, embarrassing.
This name and shame thing.
Yeah, I mean, you see, we don't have sense of shame in our culture. If it is in Japan, for instance, all you need to do is climb the highest mountain and throw yourself, commit suicide.
Yes.
But here, there was even people are being celebrated for being corrupt. Criminals are being celebrated because of the terrible culture that we have here of recent, which was not there before.
Yes.
So it's important that banking should be more professional. Banks should be able to have the right people that understand the business environment.
Yeah.
And then some of the government programs that they channel through the banks for small businesses fail because banks do not have the capacity, the human capacity. They don't understand it.
The policies.
Yeah, the policies. So they need to do more, so that they will be in sync with the CBN and all the time.
Yes.
So it's important that the banking should be, that secrecy should be, and there should be other ways of getting these monies out than because I blame the banks. From the onset, they have designed this thing to fail because you can't be charging someone knowing that the business cannot, his capacity to pay in any credit. There are 5 laws of credit.
Yes.
Capacity, character, and capability, and all that.
Yes.
But you need to find out all this. Does he have the capacity to pay back? Then, if he doesn't have that, why
give him the loan?
But again, you find that when someone is borrowing 10 million, they do all kinds of things, to make sure that 10 million, but when someone is borrowing 300 million, 500 million,
yes,
then
they are relaxed.
They are relaxed and say, yes, I'm creating money, because that's the way banks create assets or create money.
Yes.
When they lend out to businesses, huge amount of money and all that.
Yes.
And again, they find lending to bigger businesses easier because the small businesses, because they don't understand how small businesses
work. Yes.
The kind of risk they're
But abroad, small businesses are the engine of an economy.
Of course, the engine of the economy. But the mistake we are making in Nigeria, when government wants to give out money for small business, channel it through the conventional banks.
Yes.
Conventional banks are not set up to understand, to take the kind of risk that small businesses take. For small businesses to survive in this environment, we need to encourage establishment of more venture capital firms, private equity firms.
Right.
These are the people that always grow the economy. Look at Israel, for instance.
Yes.
A population of 7.1 million. But Israel is known for to have the highest concentration of innovation and entrepreneurship in the world.
Really?
Yes. And they have over or close to 300 venture capital firms. Now, if I have a business idea,
yes,
I don't go to the bank in Israel.
You go to a venture capital
firm. You go
to
to a venture capital firm. I have an idea today. I package my business. I go to them today. By tomorrow, I'm starting my business because there's a venture capital firm ready to take the risk and be with you, handhold you, and see the thing grow. And then a bigger company can now come and buy. Accounts settle. Everybody is happy, and you move on to the next venture. Banks are not doing banking. They are more interested in trading. Even so-called credit analysts, they don't understand. If you just go to a private equity firm or a venture capital firm, to get this idea, and then they will be with him.
Yes.
Take the risk with him.
Yes.
And then handhold them. Build up capacity.
Yes.
Banks don't even have capacity, not to talk of building a capacity of an entrepreneur. So these are some of the challenges that we have. And I had somebody told me that who has done business in Germany told me that even in Germany, when some banks in Germany give you money, they will help you to market to make sure that
you're selling. Yes. Because if it's a genuine business idea, it's in the bank's interest to make sure that genuine business doesn't fail.
Exactly. But they don't have the capacity. They don't understand how businesses function. Most of them, you don't even need to set up a business to understand some of those things.
Yes.
And that's the conventional. Conventional banks are set up not to take the kind of risks. The people that take the kind of risks that entrepreneurs take are venture capital firms because they themselves are also entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So it's important for us to grow this economy, for small business to thrive in this environment. We need to set up all the monies that the Dangotes of this world have given to small business via Bank of Industry and all that.
Yes.
That money could have been given to a venture capital firm. manage this money. They're fund managers. Even banks don't channel your money directly to the client.
Yes.
They channel it through who understand, and that through the venture capital firm. Then they will get this money at a cheaper rate.
Yes.
Invest and nurture, watch over those things. And when it grows, we get their money out, exit.
Yes.
And then the business runs.
Yes, but I thought, you know, our government was pursuing this new entrepreneurship thing. You know, we've been hearing it coming up, and, you know, they say universities should include it in their curriculum. I mean, you know, so where are we with that?
No, you know, in 1990, I was one of the few that started talking about this entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I started publishing a magazine, first magazine on entrepreneurship, and people didn't understand it. You know, so we kept pushing, you know, writing articles and all that, so government got interested.
Yes.
You know, but again, just like every other thing, the problem solving in Nigeria is that government wants to solve a problem. They create more problems, thereby giving jobs to those who don't need it.
Yes.
You know? So it becomes more complex. A simple thing now becomes complex. Now, you know, issue of so many agencies have been set up for small businesses. Sweden is there, small and medium
enterprises
development agency.
Yes.
They set up and all that to monitor some of those things. And other people, NGOs, are doing all kinds of stuff. Why don't we synchronize all these activities? You know, the entrepreneur himself is not benefiting from this directly.
Yes.
You know, so when monies are released, the absence of venture capital firms in this environment is affecting.
It's a minus.
Yes, it's a minus for small business. It's a minus, even for any other business, even a growing business. Let's take, for instance, Muka Foam wanted to expand their operations.
Yes.
They needed money. Actis, a private equity firm, came in, bought over, invested in Muka Foam. The business expanded, grew. After 5 years, Actis now
withdrew.
Exited, because that's their own. 5 years, they exit. Now, the business is running.
Yes.
And then the business didn't die. They didn't go to the conventional
to the
bank.
bank. Yes.
It would have been worse. Now, what Actis did was to bring in professional managers to run, put them in key positions.
In the Muka Foam.
Yeah, Muka Foam. The former MD has now moved to Lafarge, where they are also doing business. The marketing director moved out, and you know, those things. Yes. Incentives were given to these people to make them work.
Yes.
And they did. Actis made their money 3 or 4 times.
And the company is standing well.
Yes. The same thing with ABC Transport, our local transport company.
Yes.
You know, when they needed 300 million to expand their fleet many years ago, in 2006 or 2007, all the banks were running over them. Now, they invested 300 million, took 30% equity. Now, after 5 years, they went public, exited, went public. ABC now became the first transport company in Nigeria to go public. Capital Alliance is the name of the company. The company, private equity company.
Yes.
And ABC made their money, expanded their fleet, and the company is still running. What they did was to have someone, one of their own, in key positions to monitor their affairs. The same thing happened in Business Day newspaper. Okay. Capital Alliance also, through another company from South Africa, invested some money. Somebody this Stanley, which was put in there as the editor-in-chief to monitor. When the company exited, so Business Day is running.
And it's doing very well.
It's doing very well. They have even moved from their former office to a new office. This is the way you grow businesses. And we need to have a lot of this kind of actors of Capital Alliance and all that, this one. In this environment to make businesses grow. That is the only way we can grow the small business, thereby growing our economy. Until we do that, then we see our time. It's all about Russian roulette.
Yes.
2 steps forward, 10 steps backward. So this is the thing that I have been saying, and I keep saying it. And Angela, you have to help me talk to them.
Yes.
So that we begin to look at encouraging people to set up. There are people who
viable
are rich.
businesses.
Yes. There are people who are rich, who have this money, they don't know what to do with it. They can give this money to people who set up private equity firms or venture capital firms, so that the risk of investment will be, they take away your risk and then bear the risk themselves. So that is the way to go in this economy.
Join us again after the break.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
This is an interesting question you put.
60 Minutes with Angela. Gain answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Well, welcome back. If you've just joined me, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitomobi. On my hot seat today, Dr. Austin NWEZE, lecturer at the Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos, the southwest region of Nigeria. Now, the CBN's policy on withdrawal limits on ATM cards. On Wednesday, August 5th, the CBN officially banned cash deposits into domiciliary accounts in Nigeria. They say only wire transfers to and from foreign exchange accounts will be allowed. The CBN hopes that this will help efforts to stop illicit financial flows. I'm using their words now. Illicit financial flows in the Nigerian banking system. And it's a move, he says, to control and support the naira after a 50% slump in oil price.
Sometimes I wonder some of these policymakers where they're getting these ideas from, and they're always thinking of short term. They're short-term thinkers,
right?
And first, let me just say that CBN has come to their wits' end in the sense that they cannot move any further without the fiscal side.
Right.
In managing the economy, you need the fiscal side, you need the monetary
side.
Now, the CBN, they have come to the end of the road for them. So there's confusion everywhere.
Okay.
Now,
just before you go on,
yes.
Have they come to the end of the road because there is a new leadership? People are insinuating that because we have a new president, Buhari, the CBN suddenly is very active and doing all these things to impress.
No, not really to impress. The CBN cannot perform more than they're doing. All they're doing is find a way out because there's no fiscal side to support them. They need a fiscal policy. And how can you make up fiscal policy comes from the Minister of the Economy or Finance and all that, the government side. Now, what the government does in the case of CBN is to use channel instructions to the players, participants in the money market, like banks and all that.
Yes.
They cannot talk to the banks directly.
Right.
They have to talk to banks through the CBN.
Right.
But the fiscal side, we set the objective. Now, we don't have a minister. We don't know the fiscal objectives
of this administration.
There's no direction. So how can the CBN? It's like, going round and around in circles. So without government giving direction, okay, the CBN has not received from the government what they want in terms of the price stability, inflation rate.
Yes.
Okay, the government has to come to fiscal side. Okay, one fiscal objective. One fiscal objective is that we want interest rate not more than 5%.
Right.
Then the CBN will now
have to work towards that.
Yes. Now the fiscal side will say, okay, we want full employment. Then they will begin to manage. Okay, the fiscal side we want a single-digit interest rate. So the CBN will now begin to implement. We don't have that. We don't know the direction the government is going.
Can we say perhaps the new economic team headed by the vice president is providing a kind of direction that the CBN is probably interpreting?
But maybe it's a backdoor directive. Direction they're given.
Yes.
There is no formal made public for Nigerians to say, okay, this is where this government is headed.
Yes.
The only thing that we know is that they are trying to recover money that supposedly been stolen,
looted. Yes.
So that they will have money, according to some people, they'll have money to, but that is backward thinking. We need forward thinking.
Yes.
What do you want to do? This government, they have not told us what actually they want to do. We voted them in to solve this problem. It's like maybe they're overwhelmed. They don't know the direction.
You mean maybe they got in there and they've seen that the problems
the problem is more than they anticipated, and they don't know where to start from. And it's okay. corruption since during the campaign they were hammering on corruption and corruption and corruption.
Yeah.
But you don't fight corruption alone. You can't sit in that Aso Rock and give directive to ensure that this thing is done. You need to strengthen your institutions. Without strengthening your institutions, you're wasting your time.
Yes.
Now, you spend 4 years as president and fighting corruption and all that, well, maybe 8 years, and you leave. Some other president comes in and changes all these things that you have done because you have not built, strengthened your institutions. Because
that's why we see flip-flop policy all the time.
All the time. You know, somebody starts something, there's no consistency, you don't follow up what the other person, or when a new government comes, it discards all the investment done to build up that thing, it's all thrown away. And then you begin to do so that it will be like, say, I'm the one, you as a new government,
yes.
Let them know that
this is mine.
Yes. The federal government of Nigeria is not a private business of house of anybody, be you president or whoever you are. Every policy, everything that they're coming up with must be the best interest of Nigerians. So back to the CBN.
Is this policy in the best interest of Nigerians?
It is not.
They say $300 a day. Limit if you are abroad or you're shopping online. You can't withdraw 150,000 naira anymore on your ATM card.
You see, one thing again, we need to, that's why I talk about where are we headed?
Yes.
What do we want to achieve? These are short-term measures. What about the long term? Now, the government philosophy, I expect the Nigerian government philosophy such that to be as you run your own home, the same way you run the government. You know in your home, you know what you need.
Yes.
You don't want to overspend beyond your budget because when you do that, you have to borrow somewhere. And as a government, just like you run your own home,
yes.
You have to run the government as if you're running your own home so that you can live within your means. We don't know what our own means are. I mean, we don't even know how to live within their own means.
Yes.
How government wants to live within their own means. So that if you live above your means, you know the consequence.
Yes.
As a government, if you live above your means, you have to borrow. But when you borrow, it distorts the macroeconomic policy that you have. So that government should be able to say, okay, what as a family, as a home, as a man in charge of his family,
yes.
He knows his income. What do I want to do? Let them prioritize. Give us, first of all, what are my fiscal objectives? So that the monetary side can perform, can follow. You know? So that by so doing, they are just grappling, you know, not knowing exactly what to do and all that. And I have told them, when you do that, you are actually creating a window. Now let me tell you something, Angela.
Yes.
Do you know that Nigeria's economy, as of 2006, has about 79% of West Africa's economy? All these West African countries,
yes.
Then Togo, they wait for Nigeria annual budget to see what and what they will ban. They will ban and open their doors, and then they'll come in.
Pause. They wait to see what's in our budget.
What our policy, yeah.
And then they do the opposite.
They do the opposite, knowing that those things will coming through.
So a typical example, what we call Tokumbo cars here, second-hand cars, when they were banned, we suddenly saw them flourishing in Cotonou.
Because that's how the economies of those nations, small nations, thrive. Our flip-flop here is their own benefits. So you find that you are feeding people over there, you know? And for us to be able to do that, to plug all those things, we need, as a developing nation, one of the quarrel I have with these policymakers is that the thing that we are in the US, that we are in the UK, that we are running, you know, it's like a microfinance bank, the MD living like a first bank MD, not knowing that it's a microfinance bank. You're thinking like as if you're...
They have fleets of cars.
Fleets of cars, and that's why they go under. We have not realized that we are a poor nation, rich and endowed by resource rich, but not harnessing those things to make the nation, you know, wealthy. And then the wealth is concentrated in the hands of the few. It's not broadly distributed. Okay? So when they come up with some of these policies, is these other nations, our neighbors, that benefit from it? So it's important that they have a rethink. Look at the long-term implication of what they're doing.
Yes.
We might think, okay, it's a short-term measure and all that. Where in the world don't you have banks having illicit transactions. It happens all over the world, but it's the strong institutions that plug all the loopholes and make sure that they operate within the confines of rule of law.
Yeah.
It's not by tomorrow you come up with a new policy, another one you come up with a new policy.
Because you're trying to block something.
Block something, and you have to be holistic in your thinking. You know, not doing this and then the other one. You know, so it's affecting the CBN policy, it's affecting the economy, and then whatever it is, the fiscal side should respond quickly. The president should appoint his ministers. If he's looking for cents, fine. You're looking for cent, you bring a cent, you put him one cent amongst devils
Yes.
in the civil service. Because the issue is not just having a cent as a minister. How about the civil servants who will be working with that cent?
The system.
The system. You know, system is such that even if you put a cent on a platform, a table, and it's trying to pull somebody up, and the person is trying to pull
Him down. Yes.
who do you think will pull each other? Is it the man on top of the table or the one on the ground? Of course, the man on the ground. The civil servants on the ground. The system is on the ground. The thing is that how do we tweak the system such that it will be strengthened, and then even if you put a terrible man there, when it comes, the system will beat him to shape. It's a system. It's an institution. Certain institution. That's the way it goes. Not by looking for a cent. Not by some of this. There's no cent anywhere in the world. You find cents in heaven.
Oh, Dr. NWEZE. Okay, so, the CBN is coming out now with further explanations. They say that the banks are taking the instructions another way. They're overheating.
Because they created the confusion in the first place. CBN is the one, through their wrong policy, have sent the wrong signal. But they're the ones who are overheating the system, not the banks. Because banks are smart. Because anywhere in the world, you find that those that work in the banks, they're always smarter than the regulators. And that was what happened in the past when bank failed during Abacha's time.
Yes.
And even it was during the time of Soludo that they began to bring in professionals. People like Tunde Lemo joined CBN, go Chukwokora for them, joined from Afribank and all that. When you're in the bank, they kind of illicit.
They know the loopholes.
They know the loopholes, yes. And when they join CBN, when the banks now come with those to take advantage of the loophole, say, I was on the other side, so now I'm here. You can't do that. That way you strengthen the institution. You build enough capacity to strengthen the institution so that some of this banking supervision will be stronger than before. So these are the things that we need to focus our attention on, to make sure that all those loopholes are plugged. After all, the late strongman, I heard that he had money in the house.
Yes,
just like
in a bag.
In the bag.
Yes.
So what's if you don't want to collect my dollar now, okay, I'll keep it.
In the house?
In the house. It doesn't spoil, it doesn't go stale. It's not tomorrow it expires. No. Now, when a new government comes in, I can bring out my money and put it in the bank when the policy changes.
Yes.
But what has happened? That money is not productive. So the whole economy is affected.
But people are saying that because of these policies, they've seen the value of the Naira rise up. But hold your fire.
Yes.
You take that question when we come back from this break. So join us again after the break. So what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask. You get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela. Every week on this station, 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Dr. Austin NWEZE. People were saying that with all these policies in place, somehow the Naira is getting stronger. we've seen it crash, and that is as a result of all these interventions.
It's all artificial. It's not sustainable. When you stop people from putting this thing, what do? They'll give it time. They'll
Yes.
find another way of operating. It's just like when the former late President Mario Yar'Adua,
Yes.
when the first year in office, he said that he saved Nigeria money. And how did he do that? The budget for that year was about 28% performance rate.
Yes.
Now, 28 performance rate. How would you save people money, Nigerian money?
When
Yeah,
you
was
only
it-
scored 28%.
So 28% performance. That means you kept that money without nothing was done, no job was created because government did not invest in all that. That's a similar thing that they're doing. Naira sharing up, okay, fine. Is it sharing up because we are now exporting, bringing in more?
More.
Ahead,
Or we've diversified the
diversified the
economy.
economy or decentralized the economy? No. These are all artificial listings. At a point, the water will find its level. You know?
So if the CBN says, for instance, you can't withdraw more than $300 a day on your ATM card, you know, people can have 6 ATM cards, can't they?
Of course, in a day, we wait, collect your money, next day collect another, next day collect another one. But the point is that we need to industrialize this economy. We need to focus on finding ways whereby we will not have capital flight. We need to find a way where our current account balance
Yes.
will be deficit. Right now is surplus. There's huge capital flight. We're not trading, we don't have a good trading this thing,
Yes.
you know, arrangement with other nations. We need to begin to look inwards,
Yes.
build our own house, develop the domestic economy, so that we, you know, gradually, we move on to export, encourage people for export. Now, Obasanjo's administration made effort to encourage export. Export grant was established. Some businesses like Promacid or Cowbell,
Yes.
Cowbell, wanted to take advantage of that. They invested heavily, retooling their factory, preparing for export.
Yes.
Now, the late Yar'Adua's government came in and just
After all that
after
investment.
all that investment, just shut out. They're not interested in all of that.
How can we maintain policy
That is
from
the thing.
administration to administration?
Because somebody wants to leave a legacy. Oh, it is during my time. You know, sometimes when you listen to some of these ministers,
Yes.
you will soon be hearing when they
Yeah.
announce new ministers. Oh, when I came into this ministry, nothing was working.
Yes.
I started from scratch to build up. Now the ministry is the way it is now. That's the kind of thing that you have. Build
And
up.
even we've seen it even in states where the same party won election from an outgoing governor. You know, it's the same party is ruling the state, but we've seen policy flip-flops as well.
Yeah, there are some policies that the former administration may not be good for the people.
Yes.
New administration says, how do we change it so that it can favor the people? Policies are made for policymakers, not for the masses. Because you need to look at the masses, Nigerians, for instance.
Yes.
What is it? What policy can I make that that will affect the lives of these people? Create jobs, make them improve the quality of life and standard of living of these people. This is what we are looking at. They look at what the state can get, but they're not looking at how it impacts on the lives of the people. Who, because they're making those policies to affect the lives of, positively affect the lives of people. There's no human face to all the policies they're making. So what they're focusing on, how do we make enough money? Extractive
Yes.
policies. Get enough money from these people, and whether they live or die is not their business. Because it has been happening many centuries ago, and it's still happening in Nigeria. The elite will sector the political decision, economic decisions, to always favor them to create their own wealth for themselves.
Yes.
When I teach my students political economy, I always tell them, when government say, okay, we have banned this, we have banned that for national interest, is it really for national interest? The answer is no. It's for either group interest, personal interest, or regional interest.
Yeah.
It's always a group, because politics is about negotiation of interest.
Yes.
Okay?
Somebody is benefiting.
Somebody is benefiting. When Obasanjo's administration banned importation of some of these drinks, it benefited somebody.
Yes.
And then the same thing is going on now. This new CBN policies and all that is always benefiting somebody or the other. Maybe, when they devalued the naira, the last time that Charles Soludo devalued the naira, somebody was fortunate enough to hear.
Yes.
He went and invested and bought more dollars. And then when the policy got, okay, we have devalued the naira, he came out and he made millions. There are two sides to CBN management of the economy, through the policy side and through the monetary management.
Yes.
I think they are failing in management. When the policy is something they do that will affect economic activities. But they are failing in management, making sure that things are done in order,
the right way.
The right way. So they should wake up in their management side, management, and then also strengthen their policy so that it will be in favor, or they will impact positively on the lives of the people. Know that you're not making this policy for angels.
Yes.
You're making these policies for people. How it will benefit them. It will enable them to express themselves either way, in business, at work, whatever, in creativity.
Yes.
They have to create incentives. What they're doing is they're not creating incentives for entrepreneurs. They're killing entrepreneur businesses by so doing.
Yes.
And you want to create jobs. You want to full employment. And you're not giving
Because
incentives.
an entrepreneur can travel and do business, trade with your ATM, buy goods, bring in goods to sell. But now you stop that. What will be the effect on the long term?
Now, I usually give this example. I said, look, let's say I travel to Malaysia to deliver a lecture.
Yes.
And after this, they give me an envelope containing some $10,000.
Yes.
And I come back.
And you're saying I can only bring in $2,500 into the country.
You see, because it is wrong. The current account balance is surplus, which is not supposed to be. We need to run a deficit. How do you bring in anywhere money is coming in?
Yes.
Let it come.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing for the economy. But money going out is not good. And how can you stop money going out when you are only consuming, the economy is not producing? So what we should do is focus on how do we make this economy productive? How do we produce some of these things that we do? The CBN, Governor Emefiele, was talking and lamenting how those days in the 70s, the Oshodapapa Road were filled with industries. Where is Aswani textile mill of those days? All the textile mills are shut down, or churches and mosques have taken over and stuff like that. And it was lamenting. And now you instead of thinking of, I thought that he will come up with.
When he gets into that seat.
Even when he got into that seat, this was recently, I think in the month of either August or July.
Yes.
He was talking about it, that they want to make sure that this and that happen. And then you're coming up with policies that is antithetical to what
you're proposing.
Okay,
so I want your comment on this as well. The president directing all ministries, departments, and agencies to run a treasury single account which will be domiciled at the CBN. What exactly is a TSA?
Sometimes in order to fight one thing.
You cut your nose to spite your face.
Yes. I mean, what is wrong with that? Will it stop corruption? It will not.
I was thinking, well, at least things like COT and all that in all the different banks. If you put all the monies of a state in one account in the CBN, it reduces the risks of anything happening, loopholes, corruption.
How will it be? How does it happen? It's not by withdrawal. There must be evidence for you to withdraw money.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you how these things happen. A friend of mine was telling me just recently that when he was doing business for one government parastatal to supply some item, he said that they told him to bring his papers.
His letterhead papers.
I said, but I have to supply this. They told him, no, we don't need the items. Just bring your invoice. The man said, no, it's against his ethics, business ethics. He went and imported this thing and brought and delivered. They rejected it.
So the aim is not the product.
Oh! That's how corruption happens. They have a paper. When you see paper like that, Angela, you must pay. They can go
on the paper. Everything looks good.
Looks good. Now you have to go to CBN to withdraw this money. I'm looking at paper, and then nothing has been supplied.
And the CBN will go by that paper.
Yes. They're not going to inspect the physical good. But even when you're going to inspect the physical good, another man told me how that in his own ministry, A new director was brought in. I think it was October. Sitting in his office, the accountant brought in about 8 million or 10 million. He said, okay. I said, what is this for? The new director asked, what is this for? He said, it's your own share now. I said, what has it done? Where's the money from? Okay, I know you're new. You know, when September, October, we stop contracts.
Yes.
So that this is part of the money remaining.
The surplus of the
budget. So we just...
That surplus, isn't it supposed to go back into the federation account?
So the man asked, the new director said, okay, how are you going to cover? He said, don't worry. We have Sanusi, just somebody.
Yes, somebody.
A supplier.
Yes.
I say, you supply, give papers that he has supplied. It's okay. Is he going to bring the goods when we still have enough in our inventory? He said no. The accountant said no. They have a way of doing it. Now this vendor will bring a paper that he has supplied. Now the store man,
yes,
we issue paper that he has received. We also issue another paper that is being disbursed.
So this corruption, one person can't do it alone. It's teamwork.
It's teamwork. Not even a cent as a minister can do it. You
just look at that chain.
Yes. So now that paper is there. You go to the bank, if it is a CBN, and you collect this money. Look at the paper. They don't have time or the human capacity to...
Vendor supplied, the storeman received, they've been disbursing.
Yes.
Everything looks good.
The production man will say, okay, we have used it all. When you say, okay, where are the things you said? We have used it. So you don't fight corruption just by coming up with policy and all that alone. No. Strengthen your institutions. Tell the people how. Corruption is everywhere in the world. But let me give it one example.
Yes.
In the 70s, when Singapore had issue of corruption and they wanted to fight it, yes, they began to strengthen their institution, but more so, what they did was to invest, to create incentive for the people who are working there. Now, those working in civil service and those working in private sector, public sector and private sector,
yes,
they have a huge gap salary-wise. Those in the private sector working maybe Goldman Sachs, earning fast salary. But those working with the government were earning peanuts. What did the government do to bridge the gap?
Yes.
Between, Angela, you and I may be classmates. You're fortunate to get a job at one private company.
Yes.
I am stuck with the government.
Yes.
Now, there are places you go, you come in with your big car. I come in with my tuke.
Yes.
And people are donating money. You're donating millions.
Yes.
And I said, well, I'll give you my moral support.
Yes.
How much is it in Naira and Kobo? Because I can't afford it.
Yes.
What do we do? When I get back to my office, I say, no.
I can't take this
again. I can't
again.
take it anymore. I have to find ways to make sure that I live up to...
I match up.
Yeah, I match up. So that is the thing we are looking at. That was how they were able to mitigate corruption in Singapore. They made a policy that the police, 80% of the police and the military, live in their own homes. Paid well and all that.
Because if you own your own home, that's the first problem any man is looking to sort out.
Now landlord will come and be knocking at the policeman's this thing, and he doesn't have, it has to be on the road. They say, I never go on road, post me to the road, so you make money to pay rent.
Yes.
The same thing happens in the system. So it's a fundamental thing that we have to look at.
Yes.
Begin from ground up so that we have, when the foundation is right, if you put a 10-story building, it will stand. But when you're just talking about the top and all that,
you're not looking at the bottom.
Yes. If I were the governor of CBN, I would look at those things. Because without taking care of those little things, we are wasting our time. We'll come back, we'll come up with a new policy to block what you have, loophole you have created in this, and
and then affect some other things.
Affect other things. You're distracted. You're confused. That's the kind of thing we are experiencing today. Tomorrow, the short-term measure to block this. They're not thinking critically. They're not thinking strategically. And we need this fiscal policy side to come in so that the monetary side will be more effective. So the CBN will now, the government will now look at using the CBN to ensure that there's efficiency in the system.
Yes.
That's what they should be looking at. So that everything is inefficient. So we need to begin to think critically and strategically so that this economy can move forward. The way things are going, there's confusion everywhere. And we're going around and saying there's so much motion but no movement. So much motion.
No movement.
No movement.
Thank you very much, Dr. NWEZE. I will have you back as soon as the president appoints his ministers, because that's a sore point you've raised, that without ministers in place, there's going to be more confusion. So as soon as that is done, we'll have you back to analyze all that as well. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
All right, then.
Thank you. And that's it for this week. I'm Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for watching.